Good morning. I am a little croaky. I lost my voice yesterday, but I will pull through. So I'll keep sipping water, so just indulge me. Yeah, but you can hear me okay, right? Thank you. Lovely to be here. I always enjoy coming to university campuses. My mother was a university professor, so I grew up actually in a university campus. So there's a lot of natural respect I have for academic institutions and teachers specifically. So thank you for having me. Lovely to be here. What the MBA does to you is much more important than what the MBA does for you. These were the wise words of Professor Lanetswell, my professor, when I did my MBA. I think that advice still holds true. Good morning. I know what you're expecting is a 20-minute type of a sermon, perhaps, on how you can maximize your MBA journey and unlock your leadership potential. I have no such grand plans, so sorry if to disappoint you. If you take away just one thing from the time that I'm spending with you, that is the following: you will be fine. I'm going to say that again. All of you will be fine. And to show you exactly what I mean when I say that, I'm going to share with you 7 lessons that I've learned over the short 22 years of my career. Yeah, I'm still very much in the middle of it, but these are some reflections from what I've been able to do in the last 22 years, okay? So let's dive in. Are you ready? All right. So lesson number 1. Failing is not equal to failure. Failing is not equal to failure. I failed physics in my class 12th board exams. Yes, you heard me right. I didn't do badly. I failed my class 12th physics board exams. Okay? Right here in Delhi, a city I grew up in. I was the only student, not just in my section. I went to a school called the DAV Public School. I was the only student in my section and my entire grade with such an outcome. So you can imagine there was a whole lot of shame, self-doubt. I had no clue how the hell I landed up in that situation. And I was the son of a university professor. So not only was this super embarrassing for me, I also brought it, for the parents. And it also meant that I couldn't get admission into any Delhi University college. Yeah, because the compartmental exams, as you know, happen several months later. So Delhi University was ruled out. I couldn't apply, which is where a lot of my friends went. This is the late 90s. My career went south even before it started. And I say this not as a metaphor, but literally. My career literally went south. Because the only college, and thanks to my mother, that I could find admission in without losing an year, the year that I failed the exam and I had to reappear in my compartmental exams, was a university in a place called Chidambaram in Tamil Nadu, called the Annamalai University. Anyone who's here from that part of the world or that university perhaps? They were okay with taking a student who had cleared the compartmental exam. So I actually showed up and I joined college in, I think, mid-October, if I remember correctly, which is my results came out mid-September and I was showed up in mid-October. So you can imagine, far from home, which was Delhi, very low on confidence because of what just happened to me, and away from friends. I mean, no one I went to school with came to Chidambaram. My parents were from the south, but I was born and brought up in Delhi. So this was the first time I was going to this place myself. So I had no clue, right? And of course, I had a lot of time because I had no friends. I had a lot of time for reflection on how did this happen? How did I do this to myself? Okay? But that's where I found my love for sales, for marketing, for communication, everything. that I've done since then. That university, that college, that degree program, it was actually, the reason they were so accommodative is it was the first time they were launching a program called a Bachelor's Degree in Marketing Management, BMN. And because it was so unknown, they just wanted to get students. So they were okay even to admit somebody like me. So the reason I'm saying this is it doesn't matter whether you top the batch or you just about scrape through, whether you land your dream internship in the company of your dreams or you have to intern at your uncle's firm. I want you to know that failing is not failure. That's my first lesson that I've learned. Lesson number 2, slow start is not a sluggish career. Your career, as Navneet just mentioned, is going to last a very long period of time. It's not 100-meter sprint. It's going to be a 30, 40-year marathon. There'll be plenty of detours. And of course, you'll have the occasional identity crisis as well. Your grades, your first job, your first placement, they don't matter as much as you may think they do at this point. Finally, what I've learned is pacing and staying power matters a lot more than actually being the first out of the gate. Yeah. I only did an MBA. I mean, the start that I had. I only did an MBA at age 35. It was an executive MBA. I went to an Australian university. The company I used to work for was an MNC, was kind enough to sponsor that for me. But I was 35 when I did the MBA. Was I too late? Was I too old? I don't know. You can figure that out. What I do know is this, and I do know this now. There is no race. It is always, it was 20 years back, it is now, it is you versus you. Okay? That's it. So please prepare your mind and please prepare your bodies to play the long game. Right? The last man and the last woman standing is a strategy in business as well as in careers. So use that to your advantage. Lesson number 3, Grunt is great. After my degree from a not so famous college, as you can imagine, I came back to Delhi and the only job I could find was working for a DSA or a direct selling agent. So I was selling here in Gurgaon, malls were a new thing. I was hired by this direct selling agency to sell a credit card called the Manhattan card. I'm looking at some people who may remember that, especially I'm sure the professors. This was from Standard Chartered Bank. It was quite a Tony looking card at that point. This was 2002, 23 years back. My job was to dress formally, talk to strangers in malls. Tony people used to come into malls, so perhaps that was the right place to be with the card, and get them to sign up for the card. The job will start at 10 a.m., which is when the malls open, and I would keep moving malls every week. And then usually the job would end when the malls would close. And with malls, as you know, as the day goes along, the mall gets busier. So 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., that's what I was doing. But I can tell you, I learned more about human behavior in the malls than I did in any classroom in my undergraduate degree. I also learned appreciation for grunt work. There was no AI. You had to fill out forms literally with a pen and paper. So on an average day, I would be filling out about 50 to 60 forms, chasing people, dealing with interesting people, dealing with rude people. But that was part of the day. I did that for many years. Please remember, grunt work will build you up. So in your internships, as you start your careers, if you find things that are non-fun, that don't look glamorous, that look laborious, embrace them. You don't know how they may serve you as you go further along. Lesson number 4. Cold is hot. If you don't ask, the answer is always a no. I've sent more cold emails than I can count. And they've opened doors that I could have never imagined. A cold email, just a cold email, to the Economic Times editor back in 2005 got me my first published article in Economic Times, a paper that Navneet just mentioned. A cold phone call to the chairman of the Central Board of Secondary Education, CBSE, back in 2010 led to me, I used to be an entrepreneur running a small tech company, led to me creating India's first vocational course for class 12th students wanting to enter the business process management industry. That course still runs today. Ironically, this is the same board whose assessment I had failed many years back. A cold email to the head of a technology company in Noida led to a profitable exit of my business in 2011. A cold email to an editor of what I was told is the top publishing house in this country, Penguin, back in 2023, led to the publication of my first book, Head Start, in 2024. A cold email to the editor of Financial Express, again here in Noida, just in May of this year, led to me writing a 4-part article series for Financial Express. It's a paper that I wanted to write for. I labor this point, friends, because this worked for me 20 years back and it works for me today. So please never buy into the myth that you need some special connections, some unique relationships, some deep network. You need to know the right people at the right places. Make that call. Send that email. You never know who might say yes to you, because cold is hot. My next lesson. Building your craft is much more important than building your brand. I know everyone's obsessed with personal branding right now. I'm pretty sure there's a course here on personal branding as well. But please, please, please build your craft first. I think the famous comedian Jerry Seinfeld was up to something, because I thought he gave the best career advice ever. And he said, become good at something. Everything else is noise. Right? He perhaps knew a thing or two. So before you become a creator or an influencer or whatever it is, or a thought leader or whatever it is that you want to call yourself, please become really, really, really good at something. Finance, marketing, sales operations, HR, strategy, supply chain, whatever it is that floats your boat. Get good at it. Lesson number 6. Business, which is what you're here to learn, is equal to people. Business is equal to people. 4 years ago, I was the country managing director for Sri Lanka and Maldives for a multinational pharmaceutical company. I was based in Colombo for a few years. This was right when the Sri Lankan crisis happened. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. Macroeconomics, politics, supply chain, currency crunch, social unrest. Some of you may remember the scenes that were playing out on televisions here in India about what was going on in Sri Lanka in 21, 22, 23. In the middle of that mess, and I was the leader of the business there, one thing became very clear. Spreadsheets don't solve problems. People do. Okay? Empathy, trust, relationships, kindness, generosity. That's the real currency of business. And you can learn all that here in the next 2 years. So if you ever have a choice, friends, between being clever and being generous, choose generous. If you ever have a choice between looking out for yourself or helping a team member get better, choose the latter. Help the team member get better. As I realized later, and I'm sure you will, it may not be obvious at this point, but the paycheck for doing that is going to be much better. And not only that, there are other bonuses. You'll usually have a smile on your face and you'll sleep quite well. And as you go along, you'll realize both are very important. Yeah. Lesson number 7. You have to pay the price to learn the lesson. In Sri Lanka, I was on what is known as a local plus package. I'm sure many HR professors would know what that means. It's very common in multinational companies. What it basically means that you get paid in local currency and your kids' education is taken care of. Okay? But within 6 months of me taking the job, the local currency, which is the Sri Lankan rupee, crashed by 70% against the US dollar. Not one, not two, 70%. It basically became paper. Correct? Net, what I made as the managing director of the business in a large global multinational in that business in my entire stint there was less than the salary on which I was on before I took that job. To put it another way, you could say I worked for 1+ year without compensation. Okay? So I essentially paid for an extremely expensive MBA in my 40s to learn how to lead in crisis. Okay? So lessons are never free. You always pay the price to learn the lesson, and you will have to keep paying it till you have learned it. So when the lesson shows up, pay the price now. Otherwise, you will pay a very expensive price later. The choice is yours. Okay? I started my speech with wisdom I got from my business school professor. I thought it'll be fitting to end my speech with wisdom I got from an undergraduate school professor. Professor Veluswamy taught us marketing in my undergraduate course. You know, he was quite old when I joined the campus. And if memory serves me right, he was about to retire either that year or the very next year. To be fair, his teaching was just about average. He spoke with a very strong South Indian Tamil accent, spoke in a very slow, shrilled voice. So it was very difficult to understand much of what he was saying anyway in the class. Okay? But for some weird reason, he would start the class and end the class by writing 2 words on the board. And those 2 words, friends, were go deep. It didn't make any sense to us at that point in time as undergraduate students. And he never gave an explanation of why he wrote that in every single class. We never asked either. But we saw that message twice a week for 2 years in a row, in a way that got embedded in our heads. Of course, many years later, I learned exactly what Professor Veluswamy was trying to tell us. And even to this date, when I'm asked to do something challenging, Professor Veluswamy's board message comes right in front of my eyes. Go deep. Sadly, in 2024, last year, at the age of 82, Professor Veluswamy passed away. God bless him. And 6 of us, friends from the undergraduate days, from different parts of India, we got together from various parts of the country and visited his family in Chennai. And we gave his children and now grandchildren a 3-page letter where all 6 of us wrote about how we took Professor Veluswamy's advice seriously and how each of us in our own small way went deep in whatever we did. I said I'll share 7 lessons, but perhaps there's an 8th one there as well, just as we close. And the 8th lesson is this. Your professors are going to say some of the wisest things in life. It may not mean much to you right now, but don't dismiss it. Listen to your professors. That's it, folks. If someone who failed class 12 board exams can stand here and give you this lecture, you know already you're going to be just fine. Thank you. Welcome to the right.